Welcome back to Lunchtime Buzz. Andy Ivey here with Shane Currington. We're at Burlap Rose. You just heard from Richard Buchanan, who is running for mayor.
Hey, dropped a bombshell on us.
Isn't that
there.
awesome?
That is great. I can't wait.
I think he's going to do great.
He'll do fine.
And so we have our last guest, leadership expert Mike Rochelle. And the idea of inviting Mike was when you're in the middle of a set of issues like our city leadership has found themselves in, a lot of companies would turn to a guy like Mike. And Mike has consulted me, consulted my team, consulted my peers. A lot of C-level executives out there got to be C-level executives because of Mike Rochelle. He's a guy you hire when you have a high potential employee that you want to move into a senior executive role.
Absolutely.
And Mike is the type of guy who could help you navigate a controversy. And Mike, welcome to the show, and what do you have for us?
It's great to be here, Andy. You and I have known each other for quite a few years now. I've had the opportunity to come out to Hamilton. I think this is my fourth trip out, and I love the community. I love what you guys are doing here, and you integrated yourself pretty quickly. First of all, it's an honor to meet you, Shane, and to be with you again. I think what I've got for you, I decided that listening to last week's show, that I was going to stay away from the details of the situation, right?
You'll live longer.
So basically what I want to do is I want to say some of what I have to share I would do prior to controversy, right? And so I'm going to lay out how I would deal with leadership just in general, what I've shared with you and your team and with other teams, about 4,000 C-level executives over my last 24 years of practice in management consulting. And lay out not only what I think, but the results that I've gotten, and then go into methodology. And then at the end, I will lay out what I think is a trust continuum that one of my great mentors, Dick Dooley, taught me a long, long time ago that I think is unique and powerful for the situation. And then I'll just lay it out for you guys who are here in the community to decide how you're going to move forward. But there is no problem that can't be overcome, right? I think that love is the most powerful thing, a force for good in the universe, right? So everywhere that I come from is really based on love. And I'll explain what I mean by that as we go through.
Cool.
So a couple of years ago, I met Alan Bean, who was the fourth person of 12 who walked on the moon. And he gave a compelling presentation of his experiences in life and what had happened. And when he was an astronaut, just about to go to the moon, he almost got kicked off the mission because he was kind of full of himself. I mean, he was a fighter pilot and all that kind of stuff. And I don't remember who his mission commander was, but his mission commander pulled him aside one day and said, hey, you need to treat all these people that are supporting us like they're your best friend, because they are your lifeline back to the earth. And they are the reason why you're going to be able to make it back, if we make it back, right? Show a little humility, and if you can't do this, then I'm going to have to let you go off the mission. Now, this was nearly at launch, right? They had understudies and all that, so it could have happened. He said his leader set him down and told him what he was doing that was wrong, and it was basically treating people as though they were beneath him, right? And what I hear in the story that I heard, and it is a story, I can't corroborate it, so that's why I'm not going to get into the he said, she said part of it. But when people feel like you have mistreated them, there's something that you need to do about it, right? We'll get to the what you do about it later. But what Alan Bean said, and he said, I learned this and I never forgot it. He said, if you want to be a good leader, you've got to find a way and care about and admire all the other team members. If you think about it, the executive leader of an organization or the executive leader of a town is the leader of an entire population. They are elected democratically to be in office to serve all of them. What I loved hearing from Richard Buchanan as I came into the studio here was that he said that I want to listen to what everybody has to say. And I think that position of humility is exactly what is necessary for this situation, right? Now, whether he becomes the mayor or not, I would recommend that anybody that goes into that position take that position of humility that he demonstrated here, Does that make sense?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
that's kind of the prep into this. What I've been doing really for the last year and a half, I put together a new program that I call the Leadership In Accelerator. My company is called Leadership In, and the N stands for growing the next version of you, right? It's about how can you be better. Jordan Peterson says not to compare yourself among yourselves. Even in the Bible, it says not to do that. Peterson says, to go further with it, compare yourself with who you were yesterday, right? Isn't that a cool way to think about it, right? If you rise and you're doing well, you can do better. If you've had a day where you did some things that you're ashamed of, let's just use that word, right? You're ashamed of something that you did, you need to apologize, right? And you need to make it right, and then you need to grow the way that you're being. Your emotional intelligence is one way to think about it, right? So that the next time that you get into a heated conversation, that you're able to take a deep breath, tame your mouth, your tongue, which is another great scripture, and then say, I'm gonna respond to this person with the dignity that they as a human being deserve first. And then with the knowledge that you are their public servant, then the second thought that's going to go through your mind, and then you're going to respond to it in a humility-filled way, right? That would be the thing. The program that I do, I measure these things, right? So before I start a program, I measure 4 different categories: trust, teaming, harmony, and results. I'm not going to go through the details of that, but basically what I do it on a scale of 1 to 5. So 1 is very bad, 2 is bad, 3 is average, 4 is good, and 5 is great.
So you take a baseline of trust, harmony, teaming. Oh, we're hitting a commercial break. Let's take a break and come right back.
That sounds great.
Welcome back to Lunchtime Buzz. Andy Ivey and Shane Currington here at Burlap Rose with Mike Rochelle. Mike is just talking to us about successful leaders and successful organizations. Mike, take it away.
As we were talking about, I measure, before I do any work with an organization or a team, trust, team, harmony, and results. Trust, because trust is the number one thing that we're missing in all of society. If you look at it, individual trust is down, trust in the government is super low, trust in the media is super low, trust in corporate leaders is a little bit higher than the government, but not much. Right? It's an endemic problem, and leaders have to actually resolve it. The reason I do teaming and harmony as the next measure, they're the things, that's the environment, that's the fertile ground that creates things that increase trust, right? But it takes time. You have to work on it. It's not going to just happen. And then finally, you get results. And my findings in last year, I've had 7 cohorts of about 150 people. And the average gain on trust was 0.35. The average team gain was 0.36. The average harmony gain was 0.72, which I was very happy to see. And then the focus on results is 0.56.
And that's significant on a scale of 1 to 5.
It is. And so basically what we're doing is we're moving some things from average to good, and some things from a little better than average into the good to great category. Right?
It sounds like you've got some data to prove that maybe you know what you're talking about.
Absolutely, and that's why I brought that. All right. Andy, I know that Richard just announced that he is going to run for mayor this term, but I would imagine that sometime in your future you're going to be running too. What I'm going to do,
help us all.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to lay out some scenarios for you and I to talk through.
I can put the hypothetical mayor hat on.
Absolutely, like I was coaching you as a mayor, right?
Sure.
The good news is that I actually have your results from Gallup.
My actual strengths, my personality assessment. Let's do it.
I do it. The thing that I focus on when I'm talking to somebody that's other than me, which is everybody, is I first find out, where do we have strengths in common? You and I both have belief in common, we have activator in common, we have communication in common, competition in common, and strategic ability in common.
Competitive communicators.
Absolutely. So I am what I call a strategic influencer, and then by your strengths, I would say that you're an influencing executor, just as a shorthand,
Yeah,
right?
makes sense. Sure.
So basically, if you have that as a shorthand when you're going into a one-on-one meeting, then you can say, oh, that person is strategic and influencing, and then you are influencing and executing. We have influencing in common. That's the way we're going to look at this.
So you find common ground there at the start.
That's right. And these are all strengths. That means that it's the best of what we have to offer.
Cool.
Right?
Can I have a list of his weaknesses?
So that doesn't happen. Basically, the individual gets to keep their weaknesses and work on them. And I recommend that you don't share those with anybody, because like we've seen recently, when you are dealing from your lower hand, which is your lesser strengths from a Gallup language, then you do things that are not so smart. So you take that where you want to take it.
Okay.
We're going to deal it from our strengths chart, and I'm gonna break into a conversation that I usually have with a mentee, a peer, really at Andy's level, but somebody that I'm working with, and I want to talk about how you use your strengths from a balcony or a basement behavior. I'm going to use your specific strengths, and what basic balcony and basement behavior means is that when you're using your activator, you're using your activator in a way that people feel good when you've led them in that strength.
You're energizing somebody.
Yes.
Getting them going on a project.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The basement behavior is where you are making them feel bad or de-incentivized to work with you.
Yes,
Okay?
I may have done a little bit of that recently too.
Right.
Yes.
So we all do it, right?
Yeah.
That's the reason that I brought the Jordan Peterson quote. If I blow it today, I can, and maximizer is my strength that I usually blow it on, because I want to get stuff done, right? I want to take something that's good and make it great, and I can break glass to get there by nature. My mother's German, so I have a Germanic, you will do it my way. I have to manage that in myself so that when I'm working with some people, that I feel better, or they feel better. I have three things for us to talk about that give you examples of this, other than what I just shared about myself.
Sure.
So everybody knows the Popeye cartoon.
Yes.
Right? It was a spinach commercial for the spinach industry to grow their business.
Propaganda.
But it also grew some muscles for kids, right?
Yeah.
Well, when he would get in the need of extra energy, he'd eat a can of spinach, and then his muscles would grow. Well, I like the commercial, but I think it's a basement behavior kind of a thing. In the fact that one of his favorite things to say is, "I am what I am, and that's all that I am."
That's right.
That was it. I think this was made in the 40s or 50s, right? Probably when our parents were born is when it was coming out. I'm 59. I'm not saying anything about old people, but I would say that kind of behavior is not necessarily good behavior anymore, right? And it's not acceptable to anyway. My coach in high school, Coach Dubois, I was born and raised in Houston. He was from Louisiana. He used to say, "Hoss, there are two ways in life. There's my way, and there's the highway." A leader of an organization cannot afford to let their basement behavior be the way that they lead a community.
Makes sense.
Even privately, right? But especially publicly, on a thing that's being recorded, and there are lots of witnesses and all that kind of stuff. It's just like, if you allow yourself to keep going there, that's just not advised, right? All right, the next example. I've been doing strengths since probably 2008. I had a big team at Microsoft, and I taught all of our sellers how to teach their seller partners what their strengths were.
All right, let's come back and talk about strengths. Welcome back to Lunchtime Buzz, our final segment. We were here at Burlap Rose, Andy Ivey with Shane Currington, and special guest Mike Rochelle. Mike, you have been filling our brains with stuff that you would tell a leader who's kind of going through maybe a little bit of controversy. Take it away, Mike.
We set the ground for the way I think about it and the way I talk about how to do. Let's talk about trust directly. Dick Dooley is my great mentor, who founded the Society for Information Management and also the Regional Leadership Forum, where I learned my first leadership training. And then I failed the class because I've been teaching it ever since. But anyway, he said that in a trust way, that there is a continuum of trust. The first and best level is trust itself, where I trust Andy literally to do what Andy's going to say he's going to do. I know that for a fact because I've interacted with you for so many years, and we always do for each other what we say we're going to do.
Well, you had to get there.
Absolutely. The way to get there next level down is respect. It's where you respect the other person, right? The third is a compelling mutual goal or context. The fourth is continual and intense communication.
Wow.
The fifth is confidence or optimism that the relationship is going to go somewhere. And the final place is a decision to live with it. In other words, there's just no moving forward. Those two individuals are not going to ever see eye to eye.
That's a powerful graphic.
Well, it is. And so what I intuit that the city is where it is right now, it's at a below 6 level.
We've created a new level on this show.
So the below 6 level is, it's so bad we have to change it, right?
Yeah,
All right.
feels like it.
However, if things hadn't been said the way they have been, and the last 4 city council meetings hadn't been as degrading as they have been, what I would say for that individual is that as they come into the role, so this will be for Richard Buchanan, or whoever else is the person that actually gains the trust of the community, is that they come in thinking that they're at level 5. Because confidence and optimism, exactly.
Oh, hey, optimism builds boats, man. People love optimism.
Absolutely, and then have continual and intense communication from a balcony perspective.
Not a basement.
Right? Not a basement. You never want to be basement. You might think it, you got to tame the thought and then come out with the beauty, right?
All right.
And then finally, you'll move yourself into a compelling or mutual goal.
Like streets and water.
Like streets or water, which are necessary. I drove into the city today, right? I saw some of the things you guys were talking about. And then when you get to respect is when some actions have happened, right? The roads are beginning to get fixed. Now, that might take time as well, because you're gonna have to build a bond and do all that kind of stuff and put a plan together that's probably multi-year. That's what a reasonable leader would do when the
you're
community.
You're going to have continual and intense communication.
You have to.
While you're getting to the point of actually delivering something.
Right, and there are going to be opposing opinions, and there are great stakes, right, for everybody, for the community, because we have to live with it. For the mayor, well, he might not be voted back in again the next time if he doesn't actually do what he says he's going to do, or she. And finally, you'll get to trust, where the government is doing the will of the people, and they are flowing with enthusiasm from the community, and everybody is locked arms on whatever that vision is that he's laid out or she has laid out. And that's when we reach the place where we have the next challenge that we need to deal with, right? And I don't know what those challenges are, right? But if you get streets and water, it sounds like, based on the things that I'm hearing, that would be a wonderful place to start.
Oh, that would be a lifetime achievement. We would have there would be a statue of you somewhere in Hamilton if you just got the streets and water headed in the right direction, much less to a sustainable point.
Absolutely. So I've been doing most of the talking. What questions do you guys have on anything that we've talked about? Because I can go deeper if you want to, or
I'll give you the first one, then I'll let Shane do it. So if you think you're at a level of trust, how do you respond if you find out, I thought I could just tell you I was going to go pave the streets and you were going to trust me to go do it, and then I find out that you aren't even at the confidence and optimism level. You're not even confident I can even start.
This is literally at an individual level, right? Mm-hmm. We've been talking as a collective thing, but as a public servant, what I keep going back to my notes, what Richard Buchanan said is exactly what's necessary. You have to engage the person where they are, and then listen to them intently, and then show them how your vision will resolve whatever issue is that they have. Maybe they go from a confidence, optimism to compelling mutual goal or context in that conversation, right? And then know that there are people, especially on your radio, there is no input. You don't hear back from people. You've got to have some feelers out there. Surveys is a great tool that I like to use, where you're getting feedback from the people rather than just assuming that you're marching on your merry way.
I have a question. We're talking, I was reading your quote up here from Richard Dooley. Trust is the easiest thing to lose and the hardest thing to recover.
Yes.
How much maintenance, let's say a new mayor does come in, how much maintenance are they gonna have to put toward the trust?
In the fractious situation that you have right now, the reason that I went with talking to the next mayor is because I think it's broken where it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
That brokenness creates a lack of trust for the organization of the city, not just the individual, right? That person is gonna have to be in continual and intense communication always, and they're gonna have to be emotionally intelligent enough to know that each individual is gonna be coming at it from a different perspective, and to be humble enough to go to whatever level that they need to hear it from, and then respond to them.
Gotcha, I got you.
And that, how many people you guys, 2,500 or something?
Something like that.
It might be a couple thousand people they need to talk to
Wow.
over time.
Wow. Well, we only got about 10 seconds left.
That's a huge job.
Yes.
Huge job. Hey, this was an excellent show, and I cannot wait to talk to everybody next week. We'll see you.
Thanks a lot.
Awesome.
That was great.
Thank you so much.
Very cool.
That was a nice positive end to the show, buddy.
Yeah.
That's the way to go.